Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We're coming on the air very late tonight because we have been dealing with storms all over the place, and we've just barely been able to keep our Wi-Fi on long enough to gather the information, and I decided it's well worth coming on the air tonight to talk to you about what's going on. Now, first I want to talk about the storms. That's the first thing where I want to go tonight. This is what came through the East Coast today. Many of you saw storms over even until Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, going into Georgia. Down in the Gulf of Mexico, the storms started there. They worked their way up through the panhandle of Florida. Tornadoes set in Florida. There has been damage, and I believe at least one death as a result of the tornadoes in Florida. The storm worked its way up through Georgia. There's been substantial damage recorded in Georgia. There has been some damage in South Carolina. There has been very little damage through South Carolina into North Carolina and points north. However, that doesn't say what has actually happened. There has been a major, all the rivers and the streams have been floated over their banks. There have been reports of property damage all over South and North Carolina, and even around where we live here in Morganton, North Carolina. Damage from the rivers overflowing their banks. There are roadblocks situated all over near where we live. I will also tell you right now, do not, I repeat, do not cross over water-laden rivers. Don't cross over roads where the rivers and streams have crossed over the roads. Don't do it. We have found that there have been undermining from the water underneath the streets and the highways. Don't cross the highways. If you attempt to do this, you may be brought downstream through the river. You also may find your car or truck stopped in the middle of the roadway, right in the middle of a very wildly flowing stream or river. You will be caught. You will have to get on your phone and call for road crews to try to assist you in getting out. If the police get there in time, before they pull your sorry butt out, you will probably get fined. You will get a ticket to appear before a magistrate judge, and you will be fined. It's illegal to cross a water-swollen roadway. Don't do it. Your life and others is too precious. Don't do it. Please don't do it. People have lost their lives for doing less. Don't do it. I'm just pleading with you. Don't cotton pick and do it. A lot of stuff has happened today. We've had tornado warnings up and down the East Coast today. Tornado warnings. Folks, in this hatched area that I am presenting to you on this map right now, the hatched area is an area where there have been tornado warnings and tornado watches off and on all day long. Even here where I live in the southwestern part of North Carolina. We have had tornado warnings, we have had tornado watches. So far we have had no tornadoes touch down at all. Over in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Rebecca lives, they had tornado warning going on through and including 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time today. That expired, but it did not expire where I lived until nearly 5:15 this afternoon. Now, folks, I'm telling you, here tonight, it's not as bad as it could be. It's not as bad as it could be. Why am I saying that? Because, folks, I'm going to show you what it looked like just 1 hour ago here in Morganton, North Carolina. I'm going to show it to you. It will probably blow your mind. After all the weather that we've had here, this is what it looked like at sundown. The clouds are off to the east. The sun went down and it was absolutely beautiful. You can still see the parking areas that are still water laden here. There was literally river of water going through the parking areas of my apartment complex here in Morganton, North Carolina. Just east of this, just maybe an eighth of a mile east of this, up the street from where I live, there is a park. We live in Parkview Apartments. There is a park here called Bethel Park. Bethel Park looks like a swollen river. Bethel Park looks like a swollen river right now. Folks, this area, if you don't know, is laden with a lot of clay. And the water overflowed the creeks, overflowed the river valleys. And now this park, that is a beautiful park. It's got a football and a soccer field here. They have some baseball fields there, and you wouldn't know it if you went there right now. It's swollen with water, probably water about 2 to 3 feet deep. That's how much rain we have had. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking one little bit. Like I said, we've had rivers of water flowing through here as late as about 2:30 this afternoon. By the way, I don't know how it happened, but I have a completely flat left front tire on my vehicle. It's down where the bead has broken the wheel. The bead is completely broken away from the wheel. I could not even pull out of my parking space. It might have been because of the air pressure, low air pressure from the storm. It could have been that. Yesterday the tire was completely full. Now it's not. I have to get up in the morning, take off the tire, pull it off, put on a spare, which is a donut, and then limp over about a mile or so away to a place to get the tire repaired. It's not going to be fun. Anyway, guys, that's what's happened here. A lot of water, and it has moved north. I want to say it has completely moved north over into Virginia and West Virginia.
The National Weather Service has issued a flood advisory.
The National Weather Service has issued a flood advisory. That is probably more true than I want to even think about. I am going to look at that flood advisory right now. This is something that everybody needs to be aware of. I'm telling you guys, if you don't have it happening, you will. If you're anywhere around the East Coast of the United States, you will be inundated with rain. 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of rain. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking one little bit. It's happened all day long, and it's liable to happen one more time today. I'm not kidding. The wind advisory that we had here on the East Coast is canceled. The wind advisory that we had here has been canceled. But as you heard, there is a flood advisory now here. I'm not able to get it right here this second, but I will get to it within the next 15 minutes. The wind and rain is moving north into New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, up into Rhode Island, points north into Massachusetts, up into New Hampshire and Maryland. I'm telling you guys, this is not going to be fun for anyone. Not at all. This storm is going to continue. They have closed one high school so far in New York. What is going on? I will tell you what is going on. Let me take down this map and I'll show you. They have closed down one high school in Brooklyn, New York. Thousands of migrants will be evacuated from Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn. Floyd Bennett Field is an open field. They had National Guard people set up tents for these illegals. Because of the rain and the potential storm that they're going to face tonight, officials have closed the school, James Madison High School, Tuesday afternoon. They have started moving in 2,000 migrants from Floyd Bennett Field into James Madison High School this afternoon because of the flooding that's going on and the huge rain that is coming. It's going to hit there this evening, and thousands of people are going to be inconvenienced, possibly even some of the migrants that have flooded into states along the east coast of the United States. It's not going to be fun at all. This is a mean storm. This is a very mean storm. We had winds last night into this morning of 40 to 50 miles per hour, and that is not a joke. That might be even more than what I'm saying it is. But that rain is going to turn into snow. There's been a lot of snow all over the place. I have reports of snow falling over in Iowa. 12 inches of snow in Iowa. John Yo is in the chat tonight saying 12 inches of snow in Iowa. It doesn't surprise me. I've heard of that in Indiana as well, and even over into Detroit, Michigan. That whole central area of the United States has been nailed, literally. And that's not all, folks. There's more. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Look what's coming. The storm we just got through having that's now moved off to the north and the east from us. That was Winter Storm Finn, F-I-N-N. Now we have another storm. Winter Storm Jerry is going to be following a familiar path. You notice a low over in the Pacific Northwest. That low pressure cell is bringing a lot of rain and snow to southwestern Canada, into the Pacific Northwest of Washington and Oregon, and down into even northern California. That storm is crossing over from Washington and Oregon into parts of Idaho and Nevada, Utah, Montana, and Wyoming, into Colorado as well. Now, I talked to our friend Carolyn, who lives north of Denver. They have not gotten any snow. The storm passed over Denver. It went through the Rocky Mountains, dumping tons of snow at the ski resorts in the Rocky Mountains. While it dumped snow in the Rocky Mountains, it flew over Denver. Denver has not gotten anything but some rain, but points east through Colorado and out into the Midwest have gotten dumped on. Rain, snow, and blustery winds upwards of 50 miles per hour. And I'm not joking. You can see this storm here. The storm is going to go through Utah, down into northern Arizona, northeastern Arizona, and over into Texas, New Mexico, and into Texas. It's going to go into northern Texas. Oklahoma and Nebraska are going to get nailed. North and South Dakota are going to get nailed. Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes area are going to get nailed. That storm is going to go through the Midwest and into the Ohio River Valley, into Indiana, and all the way up into the East Coast. This is not a joke. I'm giving you the information as I have seen it and as it's been told to me. Sleeping Volcano says the western slope of Colorado has been getting snow for days. The western slope on the western side of the Rocky Mountains. Okay? I've seen it happen before. It's happening again now. Folks, this is nothing to be sneezing at. This is a very deadly storm. Texas lady says, I dread the next storm going to be down to 7 degrees here in Texas. Yes, it is. Everybody needs to be on the lookout for this. This could be a very deadly storm. You need to prepare for this one. Everybody needs to prepare. I'm not kidding around here. We've seen this happen before and people have died. You need to make sure you have preparedness kits, both in your house and in your car. Make sure you have blankets. Make sure you have adequate preparations in your car. Make sure you have an emergency preparedness kit for your car. This is something that you absolutely must have. If you don't have to travel, don't. If you don't have to travel, stay off the roads. Vicky says in Iowa we just had a 24-hour snowstorm too. It's true, guys. It's true. It's not fun at all. It's not fun at all. Kimberly Hopkins says her daughter and family are in Mississippi. Mississippi was inundated with rain, and they've had some tornado warnings. They've had some sighted tornadoes over there as well. This is not fun. Linda Covington says, my dog won't even go out. What a baby. Not necessarily my kids don't want to go out either. The children, my dogs, our cats, they don't have coats to withstand this kind of weather. They just don't. Don't force them out. And if they do go out, make sure they come back in within a very short time. They shouldn't have to put up with this cold and with this very bad, powerful wind and snow. Don't make them stay out in it. Bring them in. John Yo says, I'm not working tomorrow. It's going to be way too windy to set glass. I agree. Don't do it. Be careful with whatever you do. Like I said, make sure your cars have emergency preparedness kits, blankets, and make sure everyone in your car has a warm weather jacket or coat. You need it. Make sure you keep your cars full of gas. Don't let them get down beneath the half a tank, because you will get caught out in a storm. I know for a fact. I've seen it happen. People die in these storms. My father in North Dakota was stranded between Jamestown and Fargo on Interstate 94 in 1972. The winter storm from 1971-72. He got stranded for 3 days out on Interstate 94. His brakes went out on him. He drug a snowbank on the side of the highway to slow his vehicle down. He finally got it stopped. There was a paid telephone. If you guys remember, Pay telephones. There was a pay telephone within a short walking distance away from his vehicle. He started out to call our mother, and he couldn't even make it. That's how bad the weather was. The cold and the wind nearly froze my dad to death. He made his way back to his car and stayed there for 3 days. After 3 days, a snowplow plowing out Interstate 94 cut through my father's car out there, tore up the side of it. That's how they found my father inside of a snowbank. Fortunately, they rescued him, and he was able to return home to us, but our vehicle was completely demolished. The next summer, we were in San Diego. My dad said that was enough. My parents moved us from Fargo, North Dakota to San Diego the summer of 1972, and I was in San Diego for 28 and a half years until I moved to Denver. I was in Denver another 10 years and saw 2 winter blizzards, one in 2003 and the other in 2009. 2 3-day blizzards. Bitter, bitter cold in Denver. It does happen. There is a very good chance that Denver will still see snow before the end of this winter season. Yes, I know for a fact that the winter snows don't always first dump on Denver. They fly over Denver and end up going east of Denver out on the plains and dump all their snow and their blizzard weather there. But it does return to Denver, I promise you. We've all seen it. Now, does anybody have any questions about these storms that have hit out on the East Coast or any of the other storms? I do have some information about that storm, Winter Storm Jerry, that's coming. Laura Marie says hello from Oregon. Welcome, Laura Marie. We appreciate you here on this channel as well. We appreciate you very much. Don Patoka, our dear friend in Salt Lake City, he's here as well. God bless you and your family, Don. We love you. Any questions for us about either Winter Storm Jerry or Winter Storm Finn that just went through here? Gosh, it's been something else today. It's been wild, wild west here over on the East Coast. Before I get started, I want to end up with the Pacific Northwest. Okay, but before I go there, over in Japan, just north of the western peninsula of Japan, where we saw that major earthquake happen just about 2 weeks ago. Today, there's been another earthquake. It is a good-sized earthquake. You see that by this helioplot? This helioplot would probably show a 6.9 earthquake. USGS is calling it a 5.9 earthquake. Let's go over to the USGS map and let me show it to you. It's not a 5.9 earthquake at all. Okay? It just isn't. And for the USGS to call it that, they're lying to the people again. They just are. Okay, let's go up here and take a look at it. This is north of the peninsula of Japan, out here off the west coast of Japan. This is south of Sado, Japan. USGS is calling it a 5.9. It's not a 5.9. This is more like a 6.9 earthquake. This is out in the Sea of Japan. The Sea of Japan, the water of the Sea of Japan stop the waves of this earthquake from reaching land. Okay? This typically happens out in the ocean when we have a very decent sized earthquake like this. The seawater absorbs the seismic waves. I do not think anybody felt the earthquake today over in the Sea of Japan. USGS is calling it a 5.9, folks. I don't think it was. There was an aftershock from this quake. This was a 4.5 aftershock. This is 10 kilometers deep as well. It being a 4.5 earthquake, nobody even felt this quake as well because it was in the Sea of Japan here. This earthquake here was also a 10.0 depth. And I don't believe that. I just don't. I don't trust the USGS any farther than I could throw any one of the managers. I just don't trust them. I don't think anybody should. I honestly don't believe anybody should trust them at all. Those were not the only earthquakes that hit. Over here in the Mariana Islands, the southern Mariana Islands, this is a 5.0 earthquake in the southern Mariana Islands, southeast of San Jose Village, northern Mariana Islands. This is a 5.0 earthquake. This is also 35 kilometers deep. 35 kilometers deep, a 5.0 earthquake. Down here in Indonesia, this is Tual, Indonesia. This is a large 5.3 earthquake that hit here. This is also 10 kilometers deep. Right next to it, just west, Fakfah, Indonesia. This is a 4.3 earthquake, 43 kilometers deep. Out west of there, this is Tual, Indonesia. Tual, Indonesia here. Okay? The problem with this earthquake, a 5.1. 5.1. There are no other earthquakes west of here except over here, miles off the western coast of Sumatra. This is also a 5.1 earthquake, 17 miles deep. Now, folks, there's about 15 or 20 earthquakes here in Indonesia. Don't let this map fool you. There's about 15 to 20 earthquakes here in Indonesia. USGS lies to us. Over here, south of Mindanao, Philippines. Yesterday we had a 7.0 earthquake and a very small tsunami as a result of it. 7.0 earthquake here in Sarangani, Philippines, north of Indonesia. Here today, a 4.5 in the same area. Notice that USGS is not reporting any aftershocks from the 7.0 or this 4.5 here in Sarangani, Philippines today. I know for a fact a 7.0 earthquake will cause tsunami. It will cause aftershocks. But notice what we see here. USGS is not showing any aftershocks. It's a lie. It's a lie. We can't trust the agency. Okay? You can't trust the agency. It just does. You can't. With everything that's going on, you can't trust them. Now, this earthquake in Tual, Indonesia. Let's continue east. There's nothing here reported in Papua New Guinea. I believe there were several earthquakes here in Papua New Guinea, but they don't show here. The only earthquake that is showing is over here in Tonga. Okay? Actually, I'm sorry that we haven't gotten to Tonga yet. This is Solo Vanuatu. There have been many earthquakes here in Solo Vanuatu. This is a 5.4, mid-range 5 big earthquake. This is 200.6 kilometers deep in Vanuatu. This is going to result in a 6.0 magnitude earthquake. Yes, this is a deep earthquake. This is moderately deep. But being it is 200 kilometers deep, it's a 5.4 earthquake. It's going to result in a 6.0 earthquake as a result of this earthquake here. I'm just telling you. Okay? Over here in Tonga. Okay? This is southeast of Pangai, Tonga. This is another very large earthquake. This is a 5.7 over here in just southeast of Pangai, Tonga. It's out in the Pacific. It's out in the middle of the Pacific. None of the Tongan or Fiji islands were affected by this earthquake. The ocean water has absorbed the shock waves of this earthquake as well. There is seismic energy that's going to be going down here into the Kermadec Islands north of New Zealand and over here into the north and the south island of New Zealand. USGS is not showing any earthquakes here. There are 3s and 2s. 2.4, 2.5, 2.7, and 3.4, 3.5, and 3.7 earthquakes here in New Zealand today. USGS lies to us, tries to cover it up. But folks, those people in New Zealand have felt this happen. Okay? They felt it happen. It does happen every day. Now, I just glanced at the chat. Linda Covington says if you live in Chicago, Illinois, you will get a $500 fine and a $1,000 fine if you're a business, and if you don't shovel a 6-foot clearance of snow removal on your property in front of your property. We're talking sidewalks. You need to have a 6-foot clearance for people to walk on sidewalks. If you don't, you'll get fined. In Utah, the same thing was happening there, except they did not fine you $600 or $500 or even $1,000, but they did fine you if your snow is not removed from your sidewalks. Okay? That does happen. Now, you only see one earthquake over in north central Tonga here. I'm not Tonga, Chile. This is another 5.4 earthquake over here in South America in northern Chile. Oliguay, Chile. A 5.4 earthquake. This is 176 kilometers deep. 176 kilometers deep. Let's go over here into the west coast of North America. Okay? They just took an earthquake down. Just a minute ago, I saw a big red earthquake here. They've taken it down. Go figure. Go figure. Okay? Over here in California. Actually, it's not California, I'm sorry. This is Minot, Nevada. Minot, Tonopah, Nevada here. Folks, this is in the Adobe Hills Monte Cristo Volcanic Range. The Adobe Hills Monte Cristo Volcanic Range. 2.5 years ago, we had a 6.9 earthquake here. This today is a 3.1 earthquake near Minot, Nevada, in the Minot, Tonopah, Nevada area. Yes, we've had 6.9 earthquake activity here in the past. I believe it's going to happen again. Okay? It's definitely going to happen again. Let's go north here. This is on the northwest side of Utah. Actually, this is not Utah, I'm sorry. It did look like it, but this is not Utah. This is Nevada. This is Pyramid Lake in Nevada. We talked about this yesterday. Pyramid Lake in Nevada, we have today a 2.5 earthquake. Sutcliffe, Nevada. Folks, this is a volcano. Pyramid Lake is a volcano. This is probably a 2.5 earthquake happening as a result of this volcano recharging. Magma is going out to all of the volcanoes here. Magma is going out to all of the volcanoes. Let there be no misunderstanding about that. Now, I'm going to go up here into the Pacific Northwest. I want to show you this. Okay? This is just west of Mount Rainier. There was a 2.9 earthquake near Rushing Waters, which is just west of Mount Rainier. Folks, this was not a 2.9 earthquake. This was not a 2.9 earthquake. Let me show you what really happened here in Washington State, out here near Mount Rainier. You might see something really crazy. Okay? Look at this. Folks, this is a seismogram from Mount Rainier. This is Camp Sherman. Camp Sherman on Mount Rainier. This is the northwest flank of Mount Rainier. Now, folks, the top of this seismogram is from yesterday, starting off at 5 p.m. yesterday. Yes, we have a magma churn signal up here last night. Let's go down here to today. Let's look at the bottom of this seismogram, okay? This is this morning at Mount Rainier, okay? Look at this earthquake. USGS says this is a 2.9 earthquake. I beg to differ with them. This earthquake occurred just before 7:30 this morning. About 7:27 this morning. This is a 3.5 earthquake. This does not even resemble a 2.9 earthquake. This is a 3.5 earthquake here at Mount Rainier. At Mount Rainier. You can see it. You can see it clearly. This does not even resemble a 2.9 earthquake. This is a 3.5 here at Mount Rainier. Let's go back up here to the top of this. Last night between 5 and 6:30 p.m. yesterday evening. Look at all that activity. This is typically what we would see at Mount Rainier. Okay? Look at all that activity. That activity should be showing up on the seismogram throughout the day. In order for that 6 or 3.5 to have happened, this should have shown up here at Mount Rainier all day long. Magma at this volcano caused that earthquake. Magma at that volcano caused that earthquake. You can see it clearly here in last night's seismogram. You can very clearly see it. That happens. Okay? Look at that magma churn signal there. Let's go and look at this. Okay? Look at that magma churn signal. Okay? This happens because of superheated magma coming into the volcano. That's what causes a magma churn signal. The magma churn signals are typically 23 to 24 lines high. This magma churn signal is not. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines high. This seismogram is showing approximately 46% of real world. 46% of real world. Okay? In order for this earthquake to have happened, you had to have magma, you had to have tremors, you had to have other earthquakes here as well. And yes, we are seeing earthquakes. We are seeing earthquakes. The vertical lines on the right-hand side of that magma churn signal shows steam. Those are steam signals, steam signatures. So Mount Rainier is steaming. There is a lot of magma going into Mount Rainier. Then we have that 3.5 earthquake this morning. You see these vertical lines here. You see a vertical line, it has a dot in the middle of it. That also is an earthquake. We've had many 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes. Down here in the center of this slide here, you see a pretty good sized vertical line with a small dot in the middle of it. That, folks, it looks to be a 3.0 earthquake. That does not even resemble the other 3.5 off to the upper right of this earthquake. Then down at the bottom you see another magma churn signal being built. However, this magma churn signal happened just after 3:15 this afternoon. And the rest of the magma churn signal would probably be shown on the next seismogram. You also see vertical lines at the right-hand side of that magma churn signal. This is showing steam being released from the magma at Mount Rainier. Now, why do we have steam at Mount Rainier? 6 to 7% of all magma, 6 to 7% of all magma is water. That's why when we have magma coming into these volcanoes, we see steam. If anyone was close to Mount Rainier today, and I'm sure there are people around Seattle, Tacoma area, and you saw steam coming from Mount Rainier today, 6 to 7% of steam, 6 to 7% of magma is water. And when water heats up in the magma, it turns to steam. And it is typically released from the summit of the volcano. Okay? Now, I want to take this down and I want to talk to you about earthquakes at these volcanoes. Why do you think we have earthquakes at these volcanoes? Now, the magma is pouring into the magma chamber of the volcano, right? Magma is pouring in there. It is fracturing rock inside the volcanic chamber. It pours in there and fractures the rock, causing magma uplift. Magma uplift of the volcano. Magma coming in there is causing magma uplift, fracturing rock inside the volcano. Magma is still coming up into each and every one of these volcanoes. When it is doing that, it is pounding away on the top of the volcano. It's pounding away on the magma plug, the solid lava plug from the last eruption of this volcano. The magma is hammering away at the bottom of that plug. That plug, because the magma is smashing into it, it's causing small, tiny fissures inside the plug of the volcano. Let us believe that the area between my fingers here are the fissures that is caused by the hammering away of the magma beneath that plug. When that plug is hammered at, it develops fissures, tiny fissures, which are actually holes in the rock. Those holes in the rock allows that steam from the magma to be released through those fissures in the rock, just like this. At some point with each of these volcanoes, enough steam is going to come through those plugs in the volcano, right? That's what happens. When that hot steam comes through those holes, it's a science experiment here. It widens the holes. Steam widens the holes. And at some point in time, with that magma hammering away at that plug, those holes in that plug are going to get larger. The steam is not going to help the holes to get smaller. That doesn't happen. That hot steam is enlarging those fissures in that magma plug. And after a certain point of time, guess what's going to happen? That plug is going to shatter. That lava plug from the last eruption is going to shatter into a million pieces. There will be an eruption at that volcano. There will be an eruption at that volcano. Whether it's Mount Rainier, whether it's Mount Baker, Glacier Peak, whether it's Mount St. Helens or Mount Hood, it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. I guarantee it. Okay, I just want to show you that because that is what's going on. And no one can say it's not going to happen. It will. It happens at every one of these volcanoes that erupts. And Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, and Mount Hood are getting ready to that point of eruption. You can see these earthquakes. You can see the other seismic activity here at Mount Hood. It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. Now, let me show you other seismograms coming from Mount Rainier here today. This is Camp Sherman. Okay, I just got through showing you this is Camp Sherman. Let's look at let's look at Camp Muir today. Okay? Camp Muir is on the south flank of Mount Rainier. This is the current seismogram from Camp Muir. Look what we're seeing. Tomorrow if we show this same seismogram, you're not going to see this. Okay, this is just after 5 p.m. today. 5 p.m. Pacific time today. Look at that. Folks, that is not steam. This is seismic activity happening at Mount Rainier. This is actual seismic activity happening at Mount Rainier. You're not going to see this tomorrow evening or tomorrow afternoon because the agency is going to change it. They're going to change it to reflect what they want us to know. Be advised. What they say isn't often the truth. This is the truth. Seismic activity today after 5 p.m. happened here. This is showing nearly 5 minutes of seismic activity happening at Mount Rainier. Earthquakes. Earthquakes at Mount Rainier. Okay? I just wanted you to see that. Now, oh, darn it. Why do they do this to me? Darn it, darn it, darn it. Okay, folks, bear with me for just a minute. Bear with me for just a second here. It really gripes me when the agency openly lies to all of us and doesn't give us the information that we should be having. Okay? I want you to see this. This is a seismogram at Camp Muir today. Last night into today. Here at Camp Muir, we still see the earthquake that happened that's recorded at Camp Sherman. It doesn't show it as bright and clarity as the other seismogram did. That's because they do not want us to see what's going on. They have no other information that happened at Mount Rainier here today. They scrubbed the information. They're not showing even a half the information that happened at Mount Rainier. They scrubbed it. This proves my point about these fake agencies. Okay? It's sad. Renee Steffi says, is that harmonic tremors? It could be harmonic tremors. I'm saying it could be. It remains to be seen what else we may see tomorrow. Okay? Remains to be seen what we see tomorrow. And if I have a chance, I will revisit this seismogram later. Okay? It's hard to even get a close idea of what's happening when this agency continues to lie to us. Literally. They out and out lie to us. Okay, now I just opened another seismogram of the C-means activity at Mount Rainier. Let me show you this. This is what it looks like right now. Okay? I found the seismogram that continued on from what I showed you a minute ago. This is what it looks like right now. I don't believe these are harmonic tremors. These vertical lines are long enough to be full-blown earthquakes. The smaller ones might be harmonic tremors, but these longer lines are full-blown earthquakes, not just harmonic tremors at all. Okay? It's unreal. Again, we may not see this same thing tomorrow. They will scrub the information. That's what they do. Now, I want to go on. I want to show you what has happened today at Mount St. Helens. Okay? The first thing I want to do is show you Studebaker Ridge on the north side of Mount St. Helens. This is typically what we should be seeing at Mount St. Helens every day. Again, these red seismograms that I'm showing you come from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Look at all this seismic activity. Again, this is Studebaker Ridge. A couple years ago, I had one of you who went venturing with your husband, and you guys took pictures at Studebaker Ridge, a huge volcanic field where the volcano erupted. Lava everywhere, huge lava field. This is what Studebaker Ridge shows us today. Look at that. Now, we don't see any magma churn signal here at Studebaker Ridge. So we don't know how far the agency went to turn down the seismograph. All we see are these vertical lines, and they're very small. However, at approximately 10 p.m. last night, you can see 2200 hours on the left-hand side. 22 represents 10 p.m. last night. Okay? Look at all that activity after 10 p.m. last night. Folks, this happened. This happened at Mount St. Helens last night. All these tremors and earthquakes happened at Mount St. Helens last night. It happened because there's magma pouring into Mount St. Helens. This is what these seismograms looked like 2 and 3 years ago, before the agency starts doctoring the seismograms. Let me show you what Mount St. Helens looks like at September low. The seismograph that is reporting the information at September low is a spider seismograph. The seismograph sits on top of the magma, or not the magma, but the lava plug at the top of the volcano. There is so much activity. There is so much activity at Mount St. Helens that sometimes that seismograph gets tipped over. Either the legs buckle from the weight of the seismograph and it tips over, or it just plain falls down. And they have to either put up a new seismograph or put new legs on the seismograph to hold it up off the lava plug. In this case, let's look at this. Okay? This is September low. In a minute, I'm going to show you the VLF channel, the HHN channel at September low. You're going to see the amount of magma that's going to pour into Mount St. Helens, or that has poured into Mount St. Helens during the past 24 hours. You can see earthquakes hitting here. You can see earthquakes hitting here. Okay? After 22:15 hours on the left-hand side, which is 10:15 p.m. on this red line. Over here on the right-hand side, this would be about 10:57 p.m. last night. Okay? This looks and appears to be a 2.0 earthquake at Mount St. Helens last night. Then, this morning, just after 7 a.m. this morning, on that black line, here we see what looks to be a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Could be very much larger. But again, we don't have a magma churn signal to tell us how far that the seismologist turned the seismograph down to find out at least how strong these earthquakes were. That earthquake is probably over a 2.8, 2.9. That's just how it looks right now. Okay? Let's take a look at Mount St. Helens on the HHN channel, showing the VLF waves coming into Mount St. Helens today. Look at this. Last night, from 6 p.m. on, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., you see a lot of VLF waves. These VLF waves are caused by magma coming into Mount St. Helens. That's what causes these VLF waves. Look how the VLF waves reacted after 6 p.m. over on the left-hand side. 6 p.m. is 1800 on the left-hand side. This is 6 p.m. Pacific time last night. Look at all of this activity here. This activity should show us a lot of seismic activity on the other seismogram. That means the seismologist turned down the other seismogram, or I should say seismograph, on that channel. They turned down that channel. This seismogram alone showing us the VLF wave activity caused by the tremendous amount of magma coming into the volcano. It should show us a lot more activity on the other channel. It's not. They scrubbed the activity here. The activity is here on this VLF channel. But on the other channel, at Mount St. Helens, it doesn't show that. They scrubbed that channel. Heaven forbid that the truth of what's going on actually comes out. Look at that. That is a ton of activity at Mount St. Helens. Let us go down to Mount Hood. Mount Hood is a distinct, separate volcano. Okay? Huge activity. Huge activity. Lamberson Butte at Mount Hood. Look at this. This is what always happened 2 years ago on these seismograms. We're actually seeing the actual activity happening here at Mount Hood at Lamberson Butte. Look at all this. Earthquakes and tremors here. Look at all this activity at Mount Hood. This is what it looked like before they started scrubbing the seismograph. Turning it down. Not letting the seismograph report the information. I just looked at the chat here. Don Patoka says, just reported over 4 inches of snow north of there in Salt Lake. So far today, 4 inches of snow. Crazy. Crazy. Thanks for that information, Don. We really appreciate it. Now, this is a Lamberson Butte at Mount Hood. Let's take a look at timberline from the USGS map. Okay? Timberline from the USGS side of things. Look at this. Timberline last night at the top. The seismograph started recording information here at 10:30 last night. Each horizontal line here represents 15 minutes of time. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. What you're seeing here are magma pulse waves. Magma pulse waves. The thinner lines getting thicker, and then the thicker lines getting thinner. Okay? This is magma coming into Mount Hood. Look at 5:45 this morning. The lines got pretty darn thick, almost to the point of cutting out the white part of the paper. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Then the lines got very thin today. They either turned down the seismograph to report less activity at Mount Hood, or the magma started not coming into Mount Hood as heavy. I don't believe that is the factor. I don't believe that at all. Because you see some thicker lines. The magma that's causing these thicker lines here is coming in even stronger than the seismograph is allowing it to do. Imagine if they didn't mess with the seismograph. These thicker lines would completely obliterate the paper that they're written on. Okay? That is what would happen if the agency were to start telling the truth here. Okay? That's timberline at USGS. Unreal. Unreal. This is timberline on the the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. This is timberline is reported by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. They started reporting information after 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon. The lines here are very thin. Yes, they get a little bit thicker after 1800 hours, which is 6 p.m. They get a little bit thicker after 8:15. But again, the seismograph is turned so far down that the magma is having a hard time making its way through the electronic turndown. Okay? I just got through showing you the USGS seismograph. Now I showed you the Pacific Northwest Network. Okay? Let's show you what Mount Hood, Tom, Dick, and Harry looks like. Look at this. Again, this seismogram is what it used to look like here at Tom, Dick, and Harry every day. Every day. All the seismograms used to look like this. Okay? This is what they all ought to look like. Magma is pouring into Mount Hood. You can see the activity here. While the seismograph is still turned down, you can at least see what is going on here. Okay? That is a lot of activity at Mount Hood. Mount Hood is very active. Very, very active. Mount Hood, Yoakum Ridge. Look at this. At the top of it, it is 1700 hours last night. Okay? The agency had turned it way down. Then, after 8 p.m., the agency took and turned up the seismograph, allowing it to record what's going on here. Yoakum Ridge is at Mount Hood. Look at the activity here. There is a lot of magma coming into the volcano. There's a lot of magma pouring into this volcano, and it's causing the volcano to rise. Magma uplift. Magma uplift. The magma is coming into the volcano, and it's fracturing the rock inside the volcano, causing these earthquakes. That's what's going on here. Every day, that's what's going on here. Look at Yoakum Ridge on the USGS seismogram. This is what it should show us every day here. Okay? This is after. Okay. The seismogram started recording activity here at Mount Hood at 11:30 p.m. last night. Look what we're seeing here. Starting about 6:15 a.m. this morning, all of a sudden we see a lot of magma coming into Mount Hood here at Yoakum Ridge. And at some point this morning after 8 a.m., there was so much magma coming into Mount Hood here that it started obliterating the white of the paper. Completely covering the white of the paper. Mount Hood is getting to a point where it's going to erupt. If only the agency would stop turning down the electronics of the computer here, we would know what's going on here at Mount Hood. We have to look around at a whole lot of different seismograms to really find out the truth of what's going on here. This is big time information about Mount Hood. Now it's getting late. It's 8:45. I'm going to let you go within the next 15 minutes. However, I want to show you some of the other seismograms here in Oregon coming through here. Okay? Let's look at Newberry Volcano. Newberry Volcano is south of Mount Hood. Look what we're showing here. Look at this morning. Newberry Volcano. That's a lot of magma coming into this volcano, right? It certainly is. After 7:30 this morning. And that continued for 2.5, 3 hours. Then they turned the seismograph down. But we're still seeing activity here. They didn't turn it all the way down like they normally do. We still see a lot of activity here at Newberry Volcano. It's incredible. It's incredible. Now, I'm going to jump down further into south central Oregon. I want to show you Crater Lake, Cleetwood Cove. This is Crater Lake. Crater Lake is a volcano with a lake at the top of it. We talked about that last night. There is a huge caldera at the top of the volcano. The last time the volcano blew, it left a huge lava lake, and that lava lake solidified. And after a while, water started filling in on top of the caldera, and the rim of the volcano contained the water. Now there's a huge alpine lake at Crater Lake. Look at this seismogram. That is a lot of activity at Crater Lake. Okay? This happened this morning from about 3:30 this morning on, and more lava or magma coming into the volcano. And you can see it here. Literally all day long, the magma poured into Crater Lake. All day long here at Crater Lake. That is a ton of magma here at Crater Lake. Let's jump down into Northern California now. I want to show you Mount Shasta. I want to show you Mount Shasta. There's only one seismograph even doing any kind of work at Mount Shasta. All the other seismograms have been turned down and are not showing any kind of activity at Mount Shasta. This is just a little bit different. This is Mount Shasta, and this is on the southern side of Mount Shasta with seismograph LDL. Okay? We're seeing here some evidence of the magma that's pouring into this volcano. Okay? Again, this seismogram started reporting information just after 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It says 1545 at the top left. That's 3:45. And there's a partial line up at the top right that would show 3:30, or just before 3:45 yesterday afternoon. But starting in here, let me enlarge this here. Starting in here about 15 hours, 6:15 yesterday afternoon. All of a sudden, the seismograph starts recording more and more magma coming into this magma chamber. At 1900 hours, the lines are thinner and they get thicker. Okay? Magma pulse activity or pulse magma activity. The thicker the lines, then the lines get thinner again and get thicker again. What happens here after midnight? After midnight this morning, more and more magma was coming in here to the volcano, almost obscuring the white of the paper. Look at that. All of this magma coming into Mount Shasta. This continued on into the later morning hours. Then they turned the seismograph down again. And still, the lava continued to come into this volcano. The lava coming into Mount Shasta at some point this morning, after 10 a.m. this morning. You see the magma pulse activity. The lines are attempting to get thick again. Even though the seismograph was turned down, the seismograph continues to show you magma coming into this volcano. The seismologist ought to be fired for turning down the seismograph. Incredible. Incredible. Mount Shasta is moving. Mount Lassen is also moving. Let me show you Mount Lassen before we leave today. Mount Lassen is south of Mount Hood. I've got 3 seismograms I'm going to show you here at Mount Lassen. Look at this. Here, this morning, and right before midnight last night, you see vertical lines here, don't you? Steam. Mount Lassen is having a major steam event. Yes, there is magma pouring into this volcano, causing that steam. Look what happened early this morning. There was so much magma pouring into Mount Lassen that it completely obliterated the white paper. Look at that. So much magma pouring into this volcano that it obliterated the paper that this thing is written on. Look at all the other steam signatures here. Look at all these steam signatures. These vertical lines with little curly cues on them. The seismograph has been turned down, but the amount of magma coming into Mount Lassen is huge. It's huge. It's making its way past the turn down. Let's look here at the seismograph that's just on the north flank of Mount Lassen. Seismograph LME. Look at the earthquakes here. It's not just the tremors, it's not just the steam coming from the magma here on this seismograph. Look at the earthquakes and tremors here. Okay? Last night, this seismogram starts reporting just after 3:30 yesterday afternoon. We immediately get tremors and yes, probably a 2.0 earthquake just after 5:03 yesterday evening on that dark blue line. 5:03, a 2.0 earthquake. Look what continues to happen. More and more magma coming into the magma chamber. The lines get thicker here. Look what happens early this morning. Okay? Over on the left-hand side near the top there, you see midnight this morning. Look what we're seeing here. More and more magma pouring into Mount Lassen. These are at least 2.5 to 3.0 earthquakes. 2.5 to 3.0 earthquakes, maybe even a 3.5 here this afternoon, just after, I want to say, 5 p.m. this afternoon, 1720 hours. Okay? I'm just enlarging this so you can see it here. This afternoon, on the dark blue line after 7:30 on the left-hand side, it would be 1744, which would be 5:44 p.m. here on the left-hand side. This appears to be a 3.74.0 earthquake at Mount Lassen. At Mount Lassen. One more seismogram to show you here at Mount Lassen here. This is no joke. Let's look at this one. This one is LLR, also on the southern flank of Mount Lassen. Okay? Up at the top of this seismogram here, you see a great big huge steam signature. Just after about 1740 hours, 5:40 hours, 5:40 p.m. yesterday evening. A huge steam signature there. Look at this. The thicker lines showing more and more magma coming into the magma chamber here. Look what happened after midnight. Mount Lassen has a bunch of volcanoes, or it's a volcano that has a bunch of earthquakes. Magma causing fracturing inside the volcano. Magma coming into Mount Lassen, fracturing the rock inside the volcano. Uplift in the volcano. Uplift in the volcano. It was the early the early 1900s, I think it was 1930, when this volcano last erupted. It looks to me that Mount Lassen is getting to the point of erupting again. With all of this activity that I'm showing you here, it appears that Mount Lassen is getting ready to erupt again. No joke, guys. No joke at all. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've been showing you tonight? This is huge. This is really big. It's huge. Now, I'm going to end this program. It's already 9 p.m. here on the East Coast. I want to talk to you a bit about something that's important to me, and it should be important to each one of us. We parents are not here forever. We're not going to be around forever. If you have your parents still here, call them, visit them, take their grandchildren to see them, laugh with them, hug them, let them speak and tell you the old stories over and over and over again. Take your parents their favorite food, their sweets. Treat them with respect. Treat them with patience, and also treat them with plenty of love. Tomorrow might be too late. Please let me tell you something that's very special to me. On this program, throughout the years that I've been doing that, almost 5 years now, on April 3rd, it will be 5 years that I've been doing this program. I have showed you pictures of both of my parents. When my children were young, I took them to see and know their grandparents, and their grandparents got to tell them stories. Their grandmother baked cookies with her grandchildren. I am sure my children remember that today. I got to be with my children until my ex decided that she wanted the children's attention all to herself. I have not seen one hide nor hair of my grandchildren in my lifetime. I have not seen my grandchildren since they've been born. I have had to go through various social media plants on the internet to find pictures of my grandkids. Let's make sure that your children see you. Don't cut your children off. Make sure, if you're parents, make sure your children meet and see and talk and play with their grandparents. This is vital. This is vital for their minds, for their psyches. They deserve to know who their parents and their grandparents are. Do it. Do it. Diane Mayer says, my mom and dad still here upstairs, 88 and 87 in good shape. That's awesome. Don Patoka says, yes, Ron, Homie is the oldest in the clan now. I'm the oldest in our clan. Let's make sure our children see us. Let's make sure we see our grandchildren. Let's do whatever it takes to make that happen. I'm even trying to figure out a way for my kids to get over what their mother told them about me, to allow them to see my kids again and to see my grandchildren for the first time. Do that. Blue Bunny's here in the chat says, how sweet stories of your parents. Shame on your kids for growing up. I mean that. I lost my mom last year, she says. My best friend. She was my world. My life is hell now. You're missing out so much and you're going to regret it. My kids are going to regret it at some point in time. Make sure that you let your grandchildren see you. Make sure you parents let your children see their grandparents. This is vital. Mark Stolte's here in the chat saying, my cousin just died at 110 and a half years old. Lived by himself. Hopefully you got to see him. And his kids and his grandchildren also got to see him. Please, please folks, make sure that you spend time with your family as much as possible. We parents are not going to be around forever. Now is the time to make sure that we tell our family stories to our children and our grandchildren. This is vital for each one of them. This is going to be vital for each one of them. It's very, very, very important. I cannot stress the importance of this. It needs to happen. Please make sure it happens. Okay? On another point here, I want to show you this picture. You and I are on a spiritual journey here on this earth. Yes, we're on a journey. Okay? A spiritual journey on our way back to heaven. Let's make sure we walk and talk with God. Let's make sure we walk and talk with God. Let's make sure we know who Jesus Christ is. Let's make sure we share that information with all of our kids and our grandkids. Let's make sure they are also prepared to know Jesus Christ and to follow Jesus Christ while they are still here on this earth. Let's make sure that we have that chance and we give them that chance as well. Let's walk and talk with God now. Let's make sure that each day is filled with sunrises and sunsets that are so beautiful. And let's show our family those very things. May God bless you each and every day to do what you feel is right for your family. Make sure that you teach your children well. There's a beautiful song by the Mamas and Papas. Teach your children well. God be with you this day and always. We will be back tomorrow evening sometime after 6 p.m. in the evening with another episode of Emergency Management Associates. If anything major happens between now and then, we will be back on the air tonight to tell you about that information as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, I hope you have a great night. Be safe out there. Watch what's going on. Make sure, folks, if you're going through a cold snap, don't let your pipes freeze. Before you go to bed tonight, turn on the faucets of your kitchen and your bathroom to a steady drip. That way your pipes will not freeze. Turn your faucets on until you have a steady drip. That way your pipes will not freeze. Okay? You don't want to have broken pipes as a result of a freezing weather that you're going to be seeing tonight. God protect you. God be with you. Folks, I love our Heavenly Father. I love our Savior very, very much. Have a great night, folks. God be with you. Ray Spur says Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Yes, that could have been it. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. I love you.